Yo, what up, a-holes? Thank you for tuning into the Holistic A-Hole podcast. My name is Erik Levi, and I'm the Holistic A-Hole, the mommy blogger with balls, the inconvenient truth of health. How's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a great week after Thanksgiving. I'm sure you all hit that point on probably some point between Thursday and Sunday where you're like, holy crap, I feel like absolute hot garbage. It's time to get this nutrition game into high gear. Some of you are planning your already 2019 dietary goals. I know the feeling. Thanksgiving is a taxing holiday for many a-holes, for many people. You know, you hit that point where you've feasted on turkey and you feasted on stuffing and mashed potatoes and, you know, some sweet potato-y marshmallow thing and some casserole with, you know, the onion chips and probably an insane amount of desserts. This a-hole right here, no exception. I really let loose this last weekend, and I'm sure for some people it was probably pretty mild what my situation was, but I'm sure for a lot of a-holes out there, I mean, man, it just got down and dirty. So I empathize with you, but it's time to refocus, get the goddamn health game back in order. It's okay, we can play hard, but we got to work hard. And let's be real, working hard at this health thing, it's not hard. It's actually quite easy. That was a long rant about Thanksgiving, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Today I want to talk about freaking eggs. Maybe I'll do an episode about how to recover from... you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an episode about recovering from the holidays here. Maybe next, or within this holiday season, I'll definitely do that. But today I'm talking about goddamn eggs, because these eggs are really pissing me off. People with their stupid egg white omelets. I'm watching you. I see you, and I see that you're not happy. And we're going to fix that today. I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you need to take your egg whites, you need to take your egg beaters, your egg white substitute. You got to throw that shit out the goddamn window. Throw it at the person who got them to you. Just throw it just for the sake of being free from this captive fucking time of thinking you need to eat egg whites. It's torture, and you don't got to do it. In fact, it's even worse for you doing the egg whites than it is just keeping the goddamn yolk in there in the first place, like nature intended. We're going to do all that. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But first, I want to say what's up. I want to say what's up if you are a returning a-hole or if you're a new a-hole. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't done this yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit the subscribe button right there in your podcast player. This could be the easiest thing you do all day. You're an a-hole, you're living your life, you're very stressed, you got things to do, you're picking up the kids, you're going to soccer practice, you're going to work, you're waking up, you're cooking dinner, you're cooking lunch, you're at the gym, you're doing CrossFit, you're doing power cleans and snatches, you're jogging on the trail, whatever it is. Take a quick second, take a breath, center yourself, and go to your phone, unlock the screen, and hit the subscribe button. It's the easiest thing you can do, and that way, the Holistic A-Hole podcast will pop up right there in your feed twice a week when it's released. That's right. Some of these health bloggers and mommy bloggers, they're coming at you with once a week, once every 2 weeks. Not this a-hole. Twice a week, baby. And if you know how I get down, sometimes once a day. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you're loving the podcast, which how can you not be, go on to iTunes, go on to Apple Podcasts, leave the podcast a 5-star review. Make sure you do that because this is how the podcast grows, dog. So here's what we're getting into today. We're going to talk about eggs, okay? Now, let me tell you something. As an ex-vegan a-hole, eggs are a weird thing for me, okay? Sometimes I don't exactly know where they sit, where they stand. Are they good for you? Are they bad for you? Because if you're in the vegan world or the vegetarian world, well, the vegan world specifically, the vegan world, you think eggs are complete poison. You see someone get down on some eggs, you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You might as well eat Agent Orange. You crazy? You know, if you're vegetarian, you're a little on the fence. You know, you haven't made that decision. You're like, well, I don't want to kill an animal, but I'll eat its young. I don't want to kill a chicken, but I'll eat the thing that got squeezed out of it against its will. You make those exceptions for the eggs, just like you do the cheese and the dairy, which is weird, quite frankly, if you ask me. The vegetarians, that is the weirdest diet that makes no sense, that some hippie thought of like in the 1930s, and everyone just said, sure, we won't eat meat, but we'll eat all the byproducts of the animal because, you know, that's more humane than killing it. I don't know. But if you're if you're like a meat eater, if you're a keto, you're sucking down eggs by the freaking dozen a day. You know, if you're a carnivore, you're not even looking at eggs. You're going straight to the source. So everybody has their own kind of take on eggs. And, you know, I remember when I was a younger a-hole, and I was coming up, and I was it was like the 90s, and I was like a teenager, and I had, you know, really bad back acne and just a terrible diet. And I was looking at the I'd be reading all the muscle and fitness magazines and the Flex and all this stuff, just listening to, just getting into bodybuilders like Flex Wheeler and Ronnie Coleman and guys like Jay Cutler and just all these just jacked, just ripped dudes. And would read their diets, and these guys were pushing the egg white. The egg white's hard, you know. They'd be like, I eat 7 egg whites an hour, you know. And then this is when egg whites really took off, like in the 80s and the 90s, same time as the low-fat craze went off, like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Everyone's getting down on egg whites. Then you go to, you start going out to brunch. You start going to these restaurants. You go to freaking Denny's and IHOP. They got egg white omelets, and those motherfuckers have the nerve to charge you extra for egg white omelets. I've seen egg white omelets, I've seen omelets, and then I've seen add egg white or substitute egg white for $3 extra. Plus $3. In this economy, homie, in this economy, you have the nerve to charge $3 extra to do what? To shake the yolk out, you son of a bitch? Really? We got to shake the yolk out, and I got to pay a guy $3 for what? To put the egg through the little egg white shaker and then shake their wrist a couple times back and forth? $3 for that? You're out of your goddamn minds. Not to mention, the yolk is the best part of the egg. The best part of the egg. I mean, let's start with flavor. Flavor-wise, I mean, holy cow. Is there any comparison between an egg and an egg white? If you ate an egg white, oh my God, the amount of Tabasco sauce and salt and pepper you need just to make that thing taste somewhat substandard and not like, a piece of fucking masking tape, okay? Or you can have a delicious egg yolk in that egg white, combine it, make a nice scramble, make a nice, sunny side up. Oh my God, is there anything better than a sunny side up egg cooked in just delicious butter? Good night. Poached egg? Holy cow. The amazing things you can do with an egg. Can you do a sunny side up egg white? Yeah, maybe if you've taken 3 hits of acid and you're off your goddamn rocker, sure. But a sunny side up egg. A sunny side up egg. There's nothing beating it. I'm convinced. Okay? And this is coming from an ex-vegan. One of my favorite things in the world now are just a delicious omelet. And I know, look, I'm not going to push the omelet on you. I don't think it's the healthiest thing in the world. But let me tell you something, man. When you keep that egg yolk in there, it is far superior nutrition-wise than just a stupid egg white. Here's the deal. The egg yolk has gotten a bad rap because of the low-fat craze. And the low-fat craze has done more damage to people's health than, I don't want to go this far, but I might have to. It's pretty close up there to cigarettes. I've met people, I've seen people in the short time that I've been, doing my practice studies as an NTP student, talking to people who have had freaking heart attacks on the low-fat diet. People who have dealt with cancer or pre-cancer, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance on the low-fat diet. They're scared to death of fat. They just pour on the sugar. Dog, you need the fat. I cannot say this enough. If there's one thing I've learned over the course of the last year is how important fat is. Nothing was more needed by my body after I did a 7-day fast, a 7-day water fast, which, by the way, I don't recommend. I haven't listened to my 7-day fast podcast in a while. I don't recommend it. There's people who will tell you to do it. I don't recommend it, especially if you're coming with health issues alone. Don't do it unless you consult a doctor and you're under, strict supervision. But let me tell you, when I got done with that thing, the number one thing I felt my body wanted was fat. Okay. And that's when I dove headfirst into it. And I did the research and I found this freaking low fat thing is a scam. It's a scam and it's a lie. And you feel it every time they pull the goddamn egg yolk out of the egg. Okay. The egg yolk is a nutrition powerhouse. A nutrition powerhouse. Let's go over all of the delicious nutrients that the egg yolk has in it. Okay. First of all, you have the protein. Duh. Okay. You got the fat. Of course. All right. Well, everyone's running for the hills from the cholesterol. Well, here's what I can tell you about cholesterol from what I know. From my, finite amount of knowledge is there is no, open and shut case on cholesterol. There is so much data, so much complicated data that all of the vegan YouTubers and the vegan bloggers and the low-fat bloggers and what all these, diet book people, they want to tell you about cholesterol. I mean, holy cow, is it confusing and is it not complete? Because look, hey, you can make these studies look however you want with the cholesterol thing. And, there's studies that show that dietary serum cholesterol can be, can fucking cause heart disease, right? But then there's plenty of studies that show that, no, this serum cholesterol thing, it is a, it's a false flag. It ain't right. It's not there's so much complicated information, LDL, HDL, VLDL, who knows? And I'm not saying that I give up. I'm just saying you cannot use cholesterol as your only indicator as a risk for heart disease. Now, do I think you don't want to keep your cholesterol high? Yeah, I'm kind of cognizant of that. I don't want my cholesterol being through the roof because I think there are some indicators of bad news when that happens. I'm not advocating at all that you start throwing down on 12 eggs a day and bacon and, going off on all of these processed meats or even straight up red meats. I think you have to do everything with a little bit of moderation and a little bit of, pumping the brake a little bit on things, okay? I think super high cholesterol can be a bad indicator of bad health, but at the same time, you can't run from it. You can't run away from dietary cholesterol because it is in a lot of good foods. In fact, cholesterol itself is what makes so many of your hormones. Your immune system needs it. Your brain needs it. Your heart needs it. Your liver needs it. Your muscles need it. Everything in your body needs cholesterol. Okay, your hormones freaking need it. So this idea of we gotta run from cholesterol, it's fucking bullshit. Okay, and if you're doing one of these low cholesterol things and you're looking at things and you're I can't have cholesterol, you need to stop it. You got to do your research. Okay. Also, again, I'm not saying go throw down on 12 strips of bacon and jump into the carnivore diet. I'm saying do your research, and what you'll find is that there is plenty of data, just as much, maybe more, about the benefits of good cholesterol that's also not funded by the meat and dairy industries, okay, or the egg board. So let's just chill out on the cholesterol thing, okay? Other awesome nutrients of the egg yolk: vitamin A, vitamin D, retinol, selenium, iron, folate, vitamin freaking B12. These are all nutrients your body needs. And let me tell you something from personal experience. Again, coming from the world of veganism, where I was hungry every 15 minutes, to the feeling of being pretty full and satiated and feeling good and not needing, naps all day, every day. These nutrients really kick your body into high gear. Okay. I'm an older dude. I just celebrated a birthday. I'm in my late 30s. Okay. And I have more energy now. And this is so cliche, but I have more energy and I feel better. And I'm pretty sure I'm healthier than I definitely was when I was, 24, 25. I'm kicking butts of fucking kids in my CrossFit class. My bench could be a little better, my squats could be a little better, but I mean, I'm doing what I can. I'm making the gains, right? I can jog them, I can run them, I can sprint them, I could lift them, right? And I could fucking work with a nice attitude. Oh, that's the big thing too. Sometimes, again, you have this like gut connection between your gut and your brain, the serotonin, all these different things. You got good mood, good vibes when you eat this fat stuff, right? Because again, your brain, your neurotransmitters, all this stuff, it needs fat and cholesterol. It needs these things. It needs selenium. It needs vitamin B12. It needs riboflavin. It needs retinol. It needs vitamin D, vitamin A. You need all this crap. You need the calories. So the egg is legit. Or the egg yolk. It is it's a nutrition powerhouse, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Not to mention, okay, here's the problem. When you have the egg yolk, or when you have the egg white, without the egg, okay, there is a limit on how much protein a person can take in. I think the daily recommended allowance, I don't know if this is like through the FDA and the who is it? The USDA or whatever it is. But they say like 0.08 grams per kilogram of body weight. So for most, Americans, that would be somewhere between like 40 and 70 grams of protein. Okay. Now, I read a book one time called Proteinaholic by a guy named Dr. Garth Davis. And that was the first book I read where it really kind of like blew my mind open to protein, okay? I'll give you a heads up. If this is a book you go buy or check out from the library, it's going to just hit you with a little dose of truth. This guy, Garth Davis, he's a big vegan proponent. Okay, so his book was written kind of in the light of pro-veganism, anti-meat, anti-animal products. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that, okay? And so some of that stuff you got to kind of take with a grain of salt because in his opinion, anything animal is going to kill you, right? And of course, there is data for that. But there's also plenty of data that shows the total opposite. But the point he does make is that when we take in too much protein, this can be detrimental for your health. I mean, look, IGF-1, insulin growth factor 1, huge carcinogen, tremendous indicator of cancer, okay? Opens up the mTOR pathway. Again, huge indicator of cancer, okay? A big problem with protein is it literally sticks to your bones, okay? It gets stored as fat. You have a threshold, right, of how much protein you can have. And when you hit that threshold, and again, the threshold is pretty low, okay? If you wake up in the morning and you knock down, 3 eggs, 4 eggs, I mean, you're basically halfway there to the threshold, okay? And a lot of things have protein that you don't know they have protein, right? Things like lentils, of course, meat, chicken, red meat, vegetables have protein, okay? So, and then of course, some of you guys are dumping the protein powders in your smoothies or your drinks or whatever it is. Protein, it starts to add up throughout the day and it will pack the weight on, okay? It gets stored as fat. It also gets broken down in your body, as sugar. So if you're doing like a keto diet, per se, and your body is going and it starts breaking down protein, it gets broken down into sugar. It's used as glucose in your body, gluconeogenesis, right? So it could actually raise your blood sugar when you have too much protein, okay? Again, if you're a bodybuilder and you're sucking down 200 grams of protein a day or 300 grams of protein, A, that is not healthy for anybody, but B, bodybuilders and athletes also have a much different demand for protein because it is such an energy-dense nutrient, macronutrient. At the same time, most of you aren't professional athletes or bodybuilders and you're sucking down protein and maybe you're going to the gym twice a week for 30 to an hour, but in all that other time, when you're sitting at your desk, when you're sitting on your ass, when you're driving, that protein is getting stored as triglycerides, as fat. And so, the protein by itself, not a good thing, okay? Actually, there is a fun little term for too much protein by itself. It's actually called rabbit starvation. I just learned about this. I'm sure, it's been around forever. In fact, the name of it came from when the Native Americans used to live without the Europeans here, and they would go hunting. Actually, it was actually because of the Europeans. The Europeans came in and overhunted, the plains and the terrain and the forests and the wilderness and all these places. They went and killed all the bison and the buffalo and the deer and all the animals, the fatty animals that the Native Americans used to eat. Because again, the Native Americans, they would eat nose to tail, right? They ate the meat. They would actually give the muscle to the dogs and to the wolves and to the animals, because that was considered the low quality shit. They were eating the freaking brains and the liver and the heart and the fat of the animal, because that's where all the nutrients were. That's what helped them live longer. But what happened was the Europeans came in and started completely overhunting all of the woods and forests. And so the Native Americans, they got the bows and arrows, and all they could kill were the little rabbits. And the rabbits don't have any fat on them. They have protein, but they got no fat. And the problem was the protein was not, subsisting. You need fat. Your body needs fat. We've talked about it. How much like I said, when I did a 7-day fast, the number one thing, I could feel my body, because you become very connected to your body when you don't put any calories in it for 7 days. My body was telling me, okay, through my intuition, dude, you need fat. I never felt this before. It was a revelation. And this is what the body naturally needs. Your body needs fat, okay? This is why this is so frustrating to vegans, I know, but you look at people on the ketogenic diet and they're losing a shit ton of weight, right? And some of them are getting kind of jacked because the body needs fat. It doesn't need all the carbs you're giving it. It doesn't need all the protein. It needs the freaking fat, okay? And you get rewarded by going into ketosis. And again, you look at some of these keto guys and girls doing it. I mean, they're losing insane amounts of weight and looking really good. And vegans are sitting there getting very angry about that. They're like, you're not supposed to get ripped on butter and lard. Who eats lard? Fucking good-looking people. That's who. Good-looking people who don't sweat a lot and who smell like their bodies are fucking detoxifying, a fucking rancid piece of hot garbage, okay? I mean, it's a real thing. Okay, so your body needs the fat, and that was the whole thing with rabbit starvation. Was the rabbits didn't have the fat, and if you eat the protein without the fat, you get the worst of the world of protein, because you get too much protein. We talked about it. Your body stores the protein as fat, and then you don't have the fat because you need the fat with the protein, because the fat actually helps dissolve the protein molecules and better absorb them. If you don't have the fat, if you have too much protein, essentially what happens is you take in too much nitrogen and it gets excreted through the liver and the kidneys, which can really fuck your shit up. If you're pumping too much protein through your kidneys, this can actually damage your kidneys. You start coming up with too much ammonia in your blood, and your urinary calcium increases. You got kidney stones. I mean, dude, it can really be a nightmare for your body. So you'll probably see this with people who are on high protein, low fat, even low carbohydrate diet. Remember, that was the whole thing with the Atkins. This is what I'm goddamn realizing now. Okay, the Atkins diet wasn't about the fat. It was just about low carbohydrate. So people interpreted that back in the early 2000s and the late 90s as high protein. So you would see, Flex Wheeler and Jay Cutler and all these guys just sucking down protein, and for the most part avoiding fat. And so that was good for them, but for the average person, why is the obesity rate skyrocketed? Why is the cancer rates skyrocketing? Well, because you got IGF-1, mTOR, and all this goddamn protein floating around. And people aren't also taking in the fat, because we've been told since the 1950s, 1960s that hey, fat makes you fat, and fat is going to kill you, and cholesterol is going to kill you, and saturated fat specifically is going to kill you. And look, man, I know you can find the science that supports that, but you can also find a lot more science that supports the complete opposite. So if you're sitting here struggling with weight and you keep talking about, man, I'm not going with the fat. Why do I keep getting fat? Because you need the fat, dude. You need the fat. Your cells need the fat. Your brain needs the fat. Your blood needs the fat. Your liver needs the fat. It all needs the fat, okay? And believe it or not, fatty liver does not come from fat. Fatty liver comes from sugar. It comes from alcohol, okay? Alcohol, sugar, right? So going back to the the egg whites. Look, this is the problem with the egg whites. You eat the egg whites, and then you're like, how come I'm not losing weight? There's no healthy people. There's no thin people eating egg whites. It's people who are like, I need to get healthy, right? You went and binged on your Thanksgiving dinner, and then you had leftovers for 3 days. You binged on that stuff. You were like, fuck it. It's holiday weekend. Pecan pie, cheesecake, ice cream, all kinds of liquors, and you probably threw on some weight. Well, time to get that shit off. Also, something like turkey and chicken, also lean meats, also giving you the same effect that the egg whites are. So my point with all this is look, do yourself a favor, okay? You might be listening to me and you'll be like, Erik, you are full of shit. I don't believe this one bit. And then you're sitting there and you're breathing heavy and you got a gut and your health isn't perfect. Experiment. Just experiment. Okay? Give yourself 30 days. I promise you, this is not going to put you in the hospital. Okay? This is not going to do any, by just switching from egg whites to egg yolks. Also, I just have to say this so I can protect myself legally. I am not a doctor. Any dietary changes you make, please consult a trained professional. Consult your physician. If you do get hospitalized, I'm not responsible. You have to do all this stuff at your own risk, okay? But I'm pretty positive that if you just incorporated egg yolk into your diet, for 30 days, I can't imagine really anything, I can't imagine having the negative effect that you're afraid it's going to. And if you feel that it is having a negative effect, by all means, stop. But experiment a little bit. Don't be afraid of it. That's my whole point, okay? Even if you try it a couple times a week, if you have a couple eggs with yolks a couple times a week, look, you're going to experience much better health. You're going to experience all of those nutrients that you get in the egg yolk. And let's just say this, you're going to love eggs that much more. You're just going to. They're just going to, a regular egg with the yolk omelet, far superior, blows the roof off of any kind of egg white omelet. Sunny side up eggs, poached eggs, blows apart the egg white. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm curious to know what you think of the egg white, egg yolk. Please do me a favor. Take a picture of your newly built egg yolk omelets. Take a picture of your hard-boiled eggs or whatever. Send that shit to me on Instagram at HolisticAhole. And if you haven't done this, make sure you follow me on Instagram at HolisticAhole. Follow me on YouTube. That's the Holistic A-Hole YouTube page. I got videos coming out on both just about every single day. YouTube is a couple times a week, but I got stories. I got the Instagram posts. Go join the Holistic A-Holes Facebook group where you get first access, early access to all the new Holistic A-Hole videos that get put out on YouTube. So I put those first in the Holistic A-Holes group a day or two before they go up on YouTube, so you can have that kind of advantage. And look, if you want to take the gloves off and start throwing around with some health topics and getting in and trying to figure out some stuff for yourself, do it in the Holistic A-Holes Facebook group. Let's have that conversation. So hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you subscribe, keep listening, share this podcast with people you love, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.